to a special edition of Justice. I'm Judge Janine Pirro. Tonight, an hour-long investigation into the dangers facing the U.S. power grid. What would it take to bring it down? And if our system did break down, how would you survive? And what would it be like in the dark? I'm in Lower Manhattan right now, standing in front of a power station, a typical power station. But last month I went to a meeting just a few blocks from here in the freezing cold. But when I came out of that meeting, I was frozen. Not from bitter temperatures, but from fear. I learned things that no one is talking about. Things that can change my life, your life, and the lives of everyone you know forever. I started thinking about how fragile life is and how ill-prepared we are for this. Tonight, in an exclusive justice investigation, the vulnerability of America's power system, the United States electric grid. Are we ready for a terror attack? And what would we do if the lights went out? Now, tonight is about a series of forces and individuals who, instead of doing the right thing for you and me, are playing politics and gambling with your safety and our way of life. Now, who of us could ever envision 9/11 happening? But the difference between 9/11 and what I'm about to tell you is that we know that this can happen. The question is not will it happen, but when will it happen? And the consequences would be 1,000,000 times worse than 9/11. One day, you're enjoying the comforts of life. The next, everything is different. Civilization as you know it would be gone. An electromagnetic pulse would destroy all electronics and the transformers that power everything, anything, with an on-off switch. Your hot water heater, your refrigerator, your dialysis machine. Hospitals are closed. Grocery shelves are empty. Most of the food you have at home is spoiled. And forget about your bank accounts. It doesn't matter. What you have in your pocket is all you can access. I imagine myself waking up to total darkness. Nothing in my home working. Food spoiled. Water not running. I rummage through whatever last cans of food I can find. I'm alone because my kids and loved ones have no way to get to me. And I'm afraid to leave because it's too dangerous. People are desperate. They're hungry. Our civilization thrown back to the dark ages. I'm scared and helpless, and I don't know how I can survive. If there were to be such a catastrophic failure, our death toll would be staggering. A blue ribbon commission predicting mass fatalities, horrific loss of life, some even saying 9 out of 10 Americans would die. This is not science fiction. It's real. And tonight we'll tell you about the ways that it could happen. Solar flare.
Afternoon, YouTube. This is Rogue Chihuahua, and once again our object is out. Today is October the 6th, 2016, and I just wanted to make my visual log. So here we are. I'm gonna back out real quick, and that's as far as I can back out right now, because I wanted to get up close shots, and so I'm unable to back out any farther than that. The camera will only let me videotape with you know, a certain amount of zoom, so I can either choose to videotape with no zoom and very limited zoom, or with a lot of zoom and limited pullback from it, you know. So anyways, I'm going to zoom out, and I already did actually. I'm going to go up and show you the moon, where it's at. The moon is up to the left of the object. Okay, here's our moon, up to the left. So going back down to the right, and should we be running into it right now? Yeah, there it is. Okay. And if you want to know how to find it, you know, I'm going to put it up. Let me see. You're going to need to find your own landmark. The one I'm showing you is mine. You see that little weird triangle that I'm zooming in on in the trees? Straight below that, that's my landmark. That's where the sun went down. So if you want to find this object for yourself, you're going to pan over to the left. Okay? And you're just going to go up. And it's right there. Right now it's being covered by clouds. There's clouds getting in the way and passing it and coming back out from in front of it. And again, I had somebody complain earlier in the comments that it's too shaky. I don't have all this fancy equipment, and I never intended to do these videos. I'm just trying to get this out. This definitely isn't Saturn or Venus. This is something completely different. To be honest, it's either, you know, this has the features of like a mountain, or perhaps that's like some kind of shadow on this planet, or maybe it's a moon in front of a planet, or I'm not sure what this is, but it's real and it's coming in, guys. It appeared in mid-August, dim to the naked eye, and it's been changing position slightly every night, slowly every night, getting brighter, bigger, easier to view. And about September, it became, it became bright enough to catch on film. So I started making a visual log. That's what I'm doing here. So, and please forgive me for the shakiness, but I am just doing this to keep a log of it, you know, to keep a visual log. That way there's evidence of this thing, that it showed up, and whatever happens with it, whether it leaves or it stays or whatnot, we have evidence of how it appeared and how it approached. That's all I'm doing. So, again, here's the object zoomed out, you know. It's pretty big. Not a joke. This has been a Rogue Chihuahua. Good night, everyone.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Dead fish! Dead fish! Dead fish to fry out there in Russia right now, folks. I mean, thousands of dead fish have washed ashore in Russia. It's unbelievable, really. It's just mind-boggling. An unprecedented amount of dead fish. Looks like 200,000-300,000 just by looking at the picture easily. And I can't see the scope of it and the magnitude of it, but it's insane. But anyway, this is unbelievable. It's in a lake, and I cannot pronounce the lake. It's like Kimo-Istak Shinkik Lake, and that's not how you pronounce it, but it's like 22 letters or something. Anyway, now this started happening around August 27th and 28th. But, you know, the media will not report this stuff. You have to dig deep. Heidi found that this morning, digging deep into the, to find out what was going on with mass animal deaths, which are unbelievable. I mean, what do you want to talk about? The 323 reindeer killed by a lightning bolt in Norway? Or do you want to talk about the 19 cows killed by a lightning bolt in Texas? Or the thousands and thousands of dead fish throughout the world? The birds keep falling out of the sky. I mean, it's just really insane what we're witnessing. But it continues to happen. It just continues to happen. Now, I'll put the link below on this story, but let me just say quickly. The Bible said, here in Hosea chapter 4, hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel, for the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there's no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land, and because of the swearing, the lying, the killing, the stealing, and committing adultery. The blood touches blood. The land is languishing. Folks, it's happening right now. So what's happening is it says the birds, the fowls of the heavens, the fish of the sea, the beasts of the field, all of them are going to die. It's in Hosea chapter 4, verses 1, 2, and 3. What we are witnessing is an unbelievable situation, an apocalyptic phenomenon that's been going on now since the first 5,000 blackbirds fell out of the sky in Beebe, Arkansas, to bring in the new year. It was on New Year's Eve to bring in the new year of 2011. A year of the Arab Spring, the year of dead birds, fish, and cows, the year of the mega 9.0 earthquake and the horrific tsunami that destroyed Japan and left Fukushima melting down 6 nuclear reactors. I mean, we're talking 26,000 people killed. We're talking about since this time, it's been nonstop mass animal deaths around the world. Last year alone was 897 mass animal deaths in 97 countries. This year it's over 400 and some mass animal deaths in 60 countries. And it's not slowing down. We are living in the last days. Now that we have the earthquakes intensifying, the volcanoes erupting, the sinkholes opening, the tsunamis and typhoons roaring, wars and the rumors of wars, the asteroids barely missing us. Nobody gives us even a heads up it's coming. No, we're living in the last days. Are you saved? Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Savior? Seriously, we are in the end times. It's time to make things right with God. Call upon the Lord Jesus Christ. Don't be left behind.
That is the print of a seal about 4,500 years old. It depicts the scene of the god Enlil granting to mankind the plough, the beginning of modern agriculture. But very interestingly, we see at the top here, as the background of the cylinder seal, a depiction of the complete solar system, with the sun in the center, and all of the planets we know of in their correct order, with their correct sizes. Plus, one more planet, which is still unknown to modern science, but is being actively searched for, because it does exist, as astronomers now concur with ancient knowledge. The heavens bespeak the glory of the Lord, and the vault of heaven reveals his handiwork. In August 1977, the American space probe Voyager 2 left Cape Canaveral on a journey that would eventually take it, several years later, to the vicinity of our solar system's outermost planets. What Voyager discovered once it arrived there fully corroborates ancient knowledge.
Oh my God! For the first time, man is actually seeing Uranus. And it is exactly as the Sumerians had described it 6,000 years ago. Yes, no doubt. Though they had no telescopes, the Sumerians did describe Uranus as Mash Sig, meaning bright greenish.
The Sumerians also explained why Uranus is tilted.
Uranus took an almighty bang early on. A collision with something the size of Earth, traveling at 40,000 miles per hour, could have done it.
What a strange feature. Is it artificial? Was someone there on distant Miranda in the past?
The Sumerians called Uranus planet which is the twin of Neptune, that is. Were they right? Now we can confirm the Sumerian description of Neptune as a blue-green planet. Obviously, the Sumerians must have known.
Is it possible that mankind is only just catching up with ancient knowledge? That the Sumerians were particularly at home with astronomy is evidenced by the fact that they had known, named, and listed all of the planets we know today, including those we ourselves rediscovered only in the past couple of centuries.
Nudimmud, the artful creator. Anu, he of the heavens. Anshar, foremost of the heavens. Kishar, foremost of firm lands. Rakish, the hammered bracelet. Lachmu, their god of war. Ki, the seventh planet. We call it Earth.
The seventh planet, the sacred number 7, 7 days in the week, 7 days of Genesis, 7 tablets of creation.
Sumerian cosmogony answers many puzzles that still baffle modern science. Central to it was the tale of a celestial collision and knowledge of a solar system with 12 members. That ancient knowledge included the planets Uranus and Neptune, supposedly unknown until discovered in 1781 and 1846, and even Pluto, not discovered until 1930. But most surprising was the inclusion of one more large planet as the 12th member of our solar system. The story of this planet, as told by the Sumerians on their 7 tablets of creation, begins 4 billion years ago, when our solar system was much younger and our own planet Earth did not yet exist.
Out of deep space, there appeared an intruder called Nibiru. Drawn into the center of our solar system, passing by Neptune and Uranus and Saturn and Jupiter, it faced an older planet called Tiamat. When Nibiru, traveling clockwise, came close to Tiamat, which was traveling counterclockwise, its satellite struck Tiamat and cracked it. In a series of collisions, one half of Tiamat was smashed completely into bits and pieces. It became the comets, and became what the Bible and the Sumerian epic called the firmament, what we call the asteroid belt. The other half, what we now call Earth, was thrust into a new orbital position. It carried along Tiamat's main satellite, which became our moon. Nibiru itself was caught into a permanent clockwise orbit around our sun, returning to our neighborhood once in every 3,600 years, and forever becoming the 10th planet of our solar system.
This tale of creation echoed through all the ancient cultures, becoming part of the scientific knowledge that we find in the Old Testament, in the creation story of Genesis.
Modern astronomy and recent discoveries corroborate this millennia-old tale.
Seek. Are you serious? Are you serious? Okay, so the deal is this. President-elect Donald Trump is going to have to deal with some struggling in his own intelligence agencies as the conflict over Russia is beginning to build a rocky start for his administration. Matter of fact, according to the Crusader Journal, President-elect Donald Trump's rejection this weekend of the U.S. intelligence analysis conclusion that Russia intervened in the 2016 election, helping him to win the White House in the latest in a string of conflicts between Trump and the intelligence community. He will command. Most of them involve Russia, which has grown increasingly aggressive, according to what U.S. intelligence agencies have told Congress and the administration of President Barack Obama, now in Syria and in Ukraine. So they're becoming very aggressive in their analysis. The agencies also reported that Russia has ratcheted up their activities in cyberspace, including meddling, sometimes covertly, in European and U.S. elections. The intelligence agencies have concluded with high confidence, they say, that not only did the Russian counterparts direct the hacking of the Democratic Party's organization leaders' emails, but they did so to undermine the Democratic candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton, not just to shake confidence in the U.S. electoral system, according to U.S. officials. The president-elect's transition team responded by releasing a statement that says, according to Trump, the margin of victory was overwhelming, and that the attack on U.S. intelligence community's work on Iraq said, aren't these the same people that concluded that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? These are the same people that said Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. The election ended a long time ago. It's one of the biggest electoral college victories in history. It's now time to move on and make America great again. Now, in a statement issued yesterday, California Democrat Adam Schiff, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, called the Russian hacking of the U.S. election spectacularly successful. And one would also have to be willfully blind not to see that these Russian actions were uniformly damaging to Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, and it was helpful to Donald Trump. I do not believe this was coincidental or unintended. Trump has rejected the intelligence agency's findings, and so he says, I don't believe they interfered. He told Time magazine about Russia in the interview published this week. That became a laughing point, not a talking point. A laughing point. Anytime I do something, they say, oh, Russia interfered. So Trump is in total denial as it relates to whether or not the Russians tried to help him win. He feels that, yeah, they hacked the Democrat National Committee's emails and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But let me just say something, and John Podesta. But here's the thing. It isn't a fact whether or not Russia hacked it and revealed what they were saying. It's what they were saying. Look what they were doing. Look at the corruption. Look what Debbie Wasserman Schultz were doing. Look at, they stacked the deck against Bernie Sanders like you wouldn't believe. First of all, the Democrats have this ridiculous thing called superdelegates. And you have 500 and some of them. You start the election process by 500 superdelegates are for Hillary Clinton and 23 were for Bernie Sanders. It didn't matter what Bernie did. It didn't matter how many votes he got. It didn't matter how many stadiums he filled. He was down 500 to 23 out of the blocks. That's about like being down 30-0 to start a basketball game. So, you know, and then when you read the rest of their emails that got hacked, they all were talking about how they hated Bernie and how they hated his followers and how that he was an idiot. And they called him all kinds of things. Now, look, I know he's a socialist, and he needs to spend, everybody should spend a weekend with Bernie in Venezuela to understand that socialism don't work. But the Democrat Party literally crumbled on itself because it was all in, the fix was in for Hillary from day one. They put all their marbles in the Clinton cartel's basket, and now that it's blew up in their face, they don't know where to go. They don't know who to turn to. Who's the face of the party? So what Donald Trump is saying is, you got to quit blaming Russia for everything, guys. You got to start taking accountability for your own self. As it relates to the United States of America, well, according to Trump, it's time to make it great again. Well, I don't know. Let's pray one for another. This country needs to come back together. There's a lot going to go on between Trump and Putin, and it's not all going to be hand-holding time. Believe me, the honeymoon will be over very soon as the battle for who's going to control Ukraine and the flow of oil into the European Union nations is going to be huge. Trust me. I think Trump's going to let Putin he's going to get out of the way, let Putin and Iran have Syria with their little puppet Assad. But in return, Trump wants, I'm sure Trump's going to say to Putin, you got to back out of Ukraine. You got to kind of back away and not threaten the other NATO countries. Let's have peace among each other. Let's see how it plays out. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get uglier. Are you saved? Give your life to Jesus Christ. This is what the Bible said. There'd be wars and rumors of wars. And certainly, folks, we're living in the last days. It is going to get intense. Believe me. There is military assets of the United States, the Russians, and the Chinese moving around the globe. Everybody's getting in position to protect themselves from one of the others going on the offensive. Let's pray one for another. I'll be back with more current world events and how they relate to Bible prophecy. Do not miss tonight's live broadcast. BP Earthwatch will be our guest. Again, we have to bring him in because of the revelation and information, this earthquakes, and the second wave of energy from these huge gamma rays that are coming. What happened in 2004? We had a 9.1 earthquake. We had an 8.1 and a 9.1 back to back, and 250,000 people got killed. This wave coming is greater than that. We have to talk about it. We got 15 days left. I'll be back with more in just a moment.
¿Un cohete?
No, imposible, tan grande. Big vertical streaks.
It's a country that's been at war for half a decade, so it's nothing new to see aircraft in the skies above Iraq. But the web's alive with questions over footage which seems to show something else.
I have no idea what the hell they are.
Earlier this year, a group of Marines saw something in their night vision they couldn't explain.
Is that the main one over there? Yeah.
They were used to seeing flares on the skyline, but this they thought was different.
Man, that's weird. Let me see your lighter.
Unexplained deviations in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune point to a large outer solar system body of 4 to 8 Earth masses on a highly tilted orbit. Beyond so sure of the 10th planet, they think there is nothing left but to name it.
The object does look a little bigger to me, and it's definitely captured for longer in the new video. The new video is much better. This is the new one. Look, it does look bigger. To me it does anyway. I think it is. Several different shots of it here. But you guys go check it out. You know, go compare the two videos. This isn't something new that's popped up in the sky in New Mare. I saw this a year ago. We all did, if you've been with me this time. But anyway, I just wanted to do a comparison video on the two. Pretty interesting.
My attention was brought to these artifacts in an interview with Carlos Donner, and along with these artifacts there was some others which I was led to believe may be around 17,000 years old. Let's just talk about the first one. You see, like, there's two figures or people looking up, and on the plaque below them that they're standing on, you'll see quite obviously 3 dots that make up, if you just join them lines, a perfect triangle. Also, on the large jade cup, you'll see the exact same thing again, 3 dots, and if you just to join the line up, you'd make a triangle. Now, the other important fact about that cup is that it's magnetic only on the inside of the cup and not on the outside. And what you've got is 12 little cups. Yeah, if you was to fill up those cups with water and pour them into the larger cup, it would fill it completely. What I'm really surprised is that no one has actually gone looking for those 3 dots in the constellations, because they would have found them. They are situated very close to Orion, as is depicted on that square plaque. And if you look at the two figures, they're looking up towards the sky, so they're telling us something's important to be looking at up in the sky. I'm going to show you now exactly what it is they were looking at. This is what's called the Winter Triangle or the Summer Triangle. It's made up of 3 stars: Sirius, Betelgeuse and Procyon. It is the only triangle perfectly formed anywhere in the night sky. But there's more to this triangle, as I will explain. The Egyptians tried to bring our attentions to it by building the pyramids in the same constellation as the Orion star constellation. They also to rebut this fact, aimed the two air ducts coming out of the Great Pyramid at those stars exactly. You'll also note that the King's Chamber is slightly offset 90 degrees, whereas the Queen's Chamber, further lower down, is on the 90 degrees, directly central to the pyramid. There's a good reason for this. But just to recap, we have Sirius, Betelgeuse, and a triangle, or a pyramid. Look what happens when you lay them over a celestial map. All I've done is join the dots up in the winter triangle so it stands out more, and I've also put where the Queen's Chamber is in the pyramid and the King's Chamber, and you'll see they are lined smack bang up with the galactic equator. In fact, the line runs through the two circles on that galactic equator. There is no mistake they wanted to bring our attention to this exact point in the celestial skies. This is a photocopy of a planisphere in the south. You can see the winter triangle and Orion. If you look at where the arrow is pointing, if you use the triangle as an arrow, you'll see it points exactly to the 1st of July, indicating perfectly the middle of the year, exactly. And as already shown on the celestial map, aligns perfectly with the galactic centre. In this photo you can see the planisphere. All as I've done is rotated it 180 degrees, and you'll find that it lines up with the 1st of January or the beginning of a new year, exactly. And I've got only all these coordinates directly off the winter triangle that the Egyptians was trying to bring our attentions to, and also whoever built those little cups. It was something very important, but what I want to bring your attention to is that this now is aligned with Sagittarius, and also this is the point what the Mayans claim where the dark rift comes from. So maybe there is something here. There was both pyramids and they're both telling us now the exact same spot in the celestial skies. As I've already explained, this cup was magnetic only on the inside, not on the outside, and it was clearly marked, as you can see, with that triangle on it, so bear that in mind. Magnetic only on the inside of the cup. I'm going to show you another artifact that was magnetic only at the centre of that triangle you're now seeing. You can see a little iron thing being attracted to the centre. Now you have them clearly showing you something, that whatever it is they're telling us is that inside this triangle it is clearly magnetic, and you can see it's almost in a spiral, and I believe that is our galaxy, and that the point that the Egyptians show us with the King and Queen's Chamber is the points in the galactic equator where this happens. Here's another photograph, and you can see just that whatever they've painted this with is a luminous in dark light. You know, and they're supposed to not have technology. These things are 17,000 years old. I believe they was trying to tell us something. And I believe that as we pass these 2 points in this triangle, we have a magnetic reversal. And I believe they was trying to warn us at this point in our future. And as we know from the Mayans, we're 27 months out from that time when this is all supposed to happen. Now, I've collaborated Egyptian evidence as well as Mayan to come to this summary. I suggest people start paying attention to this fact, because it's going to take place. And I believe our governments are going to the extremes to keep this quiet, because they want to keep it civilised as long as they can, but in doing that they're not giving everybody a chance of surviving this, what's coming. Our ancestors weren't as self-centred as this. They went to a lot of trouble to build these monuments so big that they would last the test of time, to give us a warning of what is to come again on these celestial cycles. The effects of the galactic alignment are already apparent. Earthquakes, eruptions of volcanoes, floods and tsunamis, and this is to say the least. There is worse yet to come, and it's going to get worse and worse. And your governments know this. Here's a photograph of the Sun taken by NASA in 2002, and here's one taken in 2009. You can clearly see the difference, I don't need to point it out. Here's a graph from NASA showing the magnetic fields, and you can see what date it's going to drop off at. Do some research. This is taking place, and they're not announcing it. You need to copy this video and post it, because I dare say it'll be ripped off the YouTube, you know, once someone starts to make complaints about it. So write it and copy it and send it out, because I don't give a shit about the human continuity and continuity plans that the governments are planning. They don't give a shit about us people. You need to get the word out and do it fast.
NASA's Kepler mission has discovered the first Earth-sized planet orbiting in the habitable zone of a star outside our solar system. The newly discovered planet is called Kepler 186f and is about 10% larger than Earth.
Kepler 186f is the first validated Earth-sized planet in the habitable zone of its star. It's the outermost of 5 planets to orbit a star that is smaller and cooler than the Sun. This planet orbits its star every 130 days, and so this places it in the habitable zone, where it's in a region where it could have liquid water on its surface.
Kepler 186f resides in the Kepler 186 system, about 500 light-years from Earth in the constellation Cygnus.
This planet, Kepler 186f, orbits a star that's cooler and dimmer than the Sun. So while we may have found a planet that's the same size as Earth and receives a similar amount of energy to what Earth receives, it orbits a very different star. So perhaps instead of an Earth twin, we've discovered an Earth cousin.
On the surface of Kepler 186f, the brightness of its star at high noon is only as bright as our Sun appears to us about an hour before sunset. Scientists believe Kepler 186f is likely to be a rocky world, but are unable to confirm its mass and density.
This is one of the big milestones that we've been looking for in our attempts to find out if there are places just like home and if there's life out there. One of the big steps is to say, is there somewhere that looks, to all intents and purposes, like Earth? Well, we don't know just yet, but we know that there are places that at least look similar.
Managed by NASA's Ames Research Center, the Kepler mission collected this data using a space-based telescope to search one part of the galaxy for potentially habitable planets.
Today is February 22nd, 2014 on Saturday, 1:28 p.m. Pacific time. And up next, okay folks, this is just for information. It is not to cause any fear or panic. It's just information. It's for you to decide. The 6th extinction. Earth is on the brink of another massive loss of animal species, but this time the calamity isn't an asteroid or ice age. And this is by Brad Plumer, and is dated February 16, 2014. There have been 5 mass extinction events in Earth's history. In the worst, 250 million years ago, 96% of marine species and 70% of land species died off. It took millions of years to recover. Nowadays, many scientists are predicting that we're on pace for a 6th mass extinction. The world's species are already vanishing at an unnaturally rapid rate, and humans are altering the Earth's landscape in far-reaching ways. We've hunted animals such as the great auk to extinction. We've cleared away broad swaths of rainforest. We've transported species from their natural habitats to new continents. We've pumped billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and oceans, transforming the climate. Those changes are pushing more species to the brink. A 2007 report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change suggested that 20 to 30% of plant and animal species faced an increased risk of extinction this century if the planet keeps warming, though scientists are still debating these exact numbers, with some going far higher. So what happens if the extinction rate speeds up? That's one of the questions that Elizabeth Kolbert, the New Yorker science writer, explores in her excellent new book, The Sixth Extinction, an in-depth look at the science of extinction and the ways we're altering life on the planet. We spoke by phone this week about the topic. Brad Plumer. Let's start by walking through the history of science. In the 18th century, no one even knew that there were any extinct species. How did we get from there to realizing there have been 5 of these mass extinction events in Earth's history? Elizabeth Kolbert. There is an interesting history there. Up until the early 1800s, the concept of extinction didn't really exist. Even early in the 19th century, you had Thomas Jefferson hoping that when he sent Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to the Northwest, they would find mastodons roaming around. Mastodon bones have been unearthed. There was a very famous one unearthed in New York and displayed in Philadelphia, and people thought they must still exist somewhere. But right around that time, a French naturalist named Georges Cuvier came to the realization that if these animals were out there, we would have seen them by now. And that made lots of sense about a lot of things. There were these bones that were very, very hard to explain. And more, as Europeans colonized the New World, they were getting bones shipped to them. It made sense of these weird nautical creatures that have been found. So extinction actually predated the concept of evolution about a half a century. People knew that things went extinct, even though they didn't really understand how species came into being. But there was still some debate. Cuvier thought that when extinctions happened, it must be because the Earth changed quickly and catastrophically. Why else would an animal that was perfectly suited to life on this planet go extinct? His theory became known as catastrophism, and Charles Lyell and Charles Darwin came along and said, "That's ridiculous. The Earth changes slowly. We've never seen a catastrophe. That's because they don't exist." That paradigm persisted until the 1980s and 1990s. That was when Walter Alvarez and his father Luis came up with the theory that an asteroid impact had done in the dinosaurs. And that idea was actually resisted for some of the same reasons. The dominant view was that the Earth does not change quickly, but then it was proven. And so now the prevailing view of change on planet Earth, as one paleontologist put it, is that the history of life consists of long periods of boredom, interrupted occasionally by panic. Let's read that again. Consists of long periods of boredom, interrupted occasionally by panic. It usually changes slowly, but sometimes it changes fast, and when it does, it's very hard for organisms to keep up. BP. Nowadays, scientists are aware of 5 mass extinction events in the past, starting with the end Ordovician extinction 450 million years ago, and up to the end Cretaceous extinction that killed off the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. Is there a lot we still don't know about what caused these events? EK says yes, absolutely. Although it depends. I think with the dinosaurs, the asteroid theory is quite widely accepted at this point. There was a big paper in Science on this subject last year, although there were still a couple of holdouts. The worst mass extinction of all time came about 250 million years ago, the Permian-Triassic extinction event. There's a pretty good consensus that this was caused by a huge volcanic event that went on for a long time and released a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. That is pretty ominous considering that we are releasing a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere, and people increasingly are drawing parallels between the two events. The very first extinction event seems to have been caused by some kind of sudden cold snap, but no one's exactly sure how that happened. But then, with the other two, the causes of those are pretty murky, and people have tried to come up with a unified theory for these extinctions, but that hasn't worked at all. The causes seem to be pretty disparate. And these are zebra mussels, by the way, in that photograph. BP. At some point, scientists realized that modern-day extinction rates seem to be elevated. that species are now going extinct faster than the normal background rate. How did they realize this? EK. I think a point that's important to make is that normally you shouldn't be able to see anything go extinct in the course of a human lifetime. The normal background rate of extinction is very slow, and speciation and extinction should be more or less equal out. But that's clearly not what is happening right now. Any naturalist out in the field has watched something go extinct or come perilously close. Even children can name things that have gone extinct. Okay, folks.
It's about 10:30 a.m. near Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm going to show you something that's kind of trippy. I'm going to take this card right here. It's a normal piece of paper, a couple inches long, about an inch wide. It's a valet slip from downtown. I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use it to block the screen, kind of like just partially, so that you can see something behind the sun, and that I can prove that it's not lens glare. And that's what all these people are saying, is that you're seeing lens glare and you're seeing things that aren't there. So give me just a second. Okay, so if you didn't know, that's the sun, and at the bottom of the screen you'll see lens glare. Notice it moves very easily. I mean, it has a very wide range depending on how you angle your screen. Alright, now if I take this valet slip and I come up just enough on the camera, you can see that little circle. It's about just to the top right of the sun. Now you can say that this is lens glare. Now if I move it this way, it doesn't move. It stays in the same spot. If I come back, oops, sorry, it's windy. If I come back and move this way, it stays above the sun, right there. Now if that's lens glare, then how come it's not moving like this one? Like that. That one moves. See it? That's lens glare. I know it looks the same. However, that cannot be lens glare if you can see it when the sun is not hitting my screen. And if I'm turning it, then how can it be lens glare? It stays in the same spot. This isn't a trick card. There's nothing on it. There's no tricks. It's just a card. Kind of makes you wonder.
You can't hide it anymore, people. Even with the chemtrailing, there it is. Directly behind the sun to the left. They've been chemtrailing to hide this thing. It's got to come out. It's going to come out. I'm taking it to the newspapers.
Alright, hey, what's up again? So this is a zoomed in video of whatever this is. Here's the sun there, and there's my weird, and here's this thing right in our sky, whatever this is. It's something red over it. I don't know what that is. That's not my film glare. That's not my film glare. Here's our sun. Here's our second sun. Here's our sun. Here's our second sun. No, you know, here's what I was thinking. I could talk. Could this possibly be a sun from a different dimension? You know how, you know, they're saying we're moving into the sixth dimension or whatnot, or the fifth, the fourth, fifth, whatever, whichever one. I don't really follow it, but I'm just trying to, you know, verify, make a few people happy. But could this be another sun from a different dimension? Am I peering in to a different dimension right now by looking at this sun, or am I actually seeing this? Yeah, like I said, I'm not scared. It's not scaring me. It's just really tripping. I'm zoomed in with my camera right now. I'm laying on my grass. I pan everywhere just to kind of show you guys that this isn't trickery or anything. And then I show you guys the red speck right there. That's my film glare. Okay? That's the glare from the camera or whatever. This is actually something in our solar system. Okay? This is no joke right now as I speak. You understand what I'm saying? This is real because I caught it. You know, I haven't seen any video like the one I'm recording today. Hold on, let me show you guys something. Sir, check this out. If I could just have a second of your time. If I could just have a second of your time. Oh, no? Okay, no problem. Well, he didn't want... That's apartment 2. Apartment 5. Upstairs. Well, he didn't want to say anything. He's too stuck in the matrix, stuck in the system. You know, I was just going to simply ask him to look at this thing here. If he would have seen it, it probably would have freaked him out. But literally, there are 2 suns in the sky right now. There are 2 suns in the sky, and then something over this second sun. That's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it a second sun.
There, that got it. Now, look, see, it's glowing, people. Now, look, I have seen sunlight, you know, that beautiful effect when it's behind big cumulus clouds and sunlight is just spilling out. This is not that. This is like, actually, it looks like a second sun, and it's got, almost like, I guess it's a Kimbo with all the chemtrails. I don't know. I don't know. All I'm telling you is that you actually see it glowing through the trees just like you see the sun do.